Think's really exciting about this, Ray. I mean, people have been talking a little bit about this, and it seems like you got some really enthusiastic voters, especially down in the St. Louis County area.
Yeah, our district is about 3/4 uh, uh, St. Louis County, and about the rest is divided between mostly St. Charles and Franklin counties, and then a very small piece of Warren. And in St. Louis County, 40% of the total registered voters are in the clubhouse. They've already voted. Look, I'm looking at it right now. Just came in, and it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. It's 150,000 people have already cast their ballots at no excuse early voting, which is something we've never had here. And it's been extraordinary. And for me, it's been great because I've been out there every day. Haven't got out yet today. I'm waiting for the rain to stop a little. But I think I spent 36 hours shaking hands with voters, in early actual voters, as opposed to likely voters. And it's been, I tell you what, I think we're going to do better than people expect. Let's put it that way.
You know, I honestly could see that too, Ray. And, let's talk about some of those conversations you've had. What's this last couple of weeks been like for you out on the trail?
It's been the best part of the race, and people, I've always known that voters tend to wait to the last couple of weeks. No matter how hard you work, they wait to the last couple of weeks to focus, particularly on a race like Congress. And even the presidency for a lot of people, but people are really, first of all, it's been gratifying. I started RFT when I was 24, and I forget that a lot of people, I think I underestimated how many people know me with that. And then obviously 37 years on Donnybrook. And if I'm able to pull an upset, it's because I think I've built a good reputation in St. Louis, and people know me. And they know that I speak the truth as I see it, and that I'm not a politician. And my campaign, first of all, it has not been negative at all. I mean, I did I've made an issue out of Ann Wagner ghosting the district, but that's all about her job, not about anything personal.
Right.
She's trying to get a little less nice toward me, but that's okay. It's okay. She hadn't been that bad, and I would say that. So it's been an unusually positive campaign. We tried to use a little more humor and sort of, because part of my whole message is we gotta fix Congress, and it starts with everybody lightening up a little bit and not hating on one another and working across the aisle. And that message resonates about as much as any. And you know me, I think no one can accuse myself of taking myself too seriously. And not that I don't as a candidate, but you know what I mean? It's like,
well, yeah.
I think we just got to be normal to each other. And that message matters to people.
Well, and I've said this too. I mean, the last couple of months, I think folks were just kind of getting tone deaf to the yelling and the screaming and the rhetoric from anybody. And I think to have that to where, let's take the stick out a little bit and let's do this. And I think it's been really enjoyable, honestly, to kind of watch that side of it. And I'm sure you've had conversations with your constituents where it's, hey, why aren't you maybe attacking her on this? Or, do you think but there's no reason to.
Right. And everybody knows that there's some big issues.
Oh,
so,
gosh,
for example, there's a real binary choice. For example, I will bring back Roe v. Wade protection to women and access in all 50 states to contraception and IVF. And she won't. Okay, so there's that. And there's also, she wants to end the Affordable Care Act, and I want to expand it. I mean, so we have some basic differences. But I'll tell you this. The biggest one is about, I always tell people, like in the line, I said, you're going to get sick of seeing me. And that's the opposite of ghosting the district. And we're not just talking about 12 years and no debates and no town halls, which is accurate, but it's more a matter of just being there. I cannot tell you how many people who seem pretty moderate, not necessarily in my camp, thanked me for being there. And really, they shouldn't have to thank me. I'm not a hero. It's your job if you're running for office. I get a kick out of the fact that people think it's so wonderful that I'm out there. That's what you're supposed to do. It's like your boss thanking you for showing up to work. I mean, it's like just because Ann Wagner hasn't done it doesn't mean that I'm some kind of hero for doing it.
Well, and honestly, I think that some of the things that are going on, and we've talked about this before, and I think the big misconception is that sometimes, federal elected officials federally can, help with local issues in St. Louis City, but just to be there and have a presence to know, hey, I can call my congressperson and say, hey, here's the issue I'm facing, and they're likely going to know about it, because I feel like that's been a disconnect that I've seen in publications, is that there's really not a pulse on local issues.
I think so. And understand, it's not just about getting stuff done. I mean,
Right.
he has an office, that answers it. But it's about being able to communicate directly with the person who represents you, meaning whether you voted for that person or against it. When I'm elected, and I'm saying that, I'll put it in when, we'll see. But when I'm elected, there'll be a news availability, for example, just about every time I'm back in the district, if there's anything going on at all in Congress. And it'll be interesting to see, after all these years of the media, those of us in the media feeling, a little bit resentful for the fact that the Congresswoman isn't available. It's going to swing in the other directions, whether they want to keep showing up to cover stuff, because I'll do that. And I think that's the biggest difference between us. I've done dozens of events, literally dozens, that have been publicized where anyone with access to the internet could have come and met me, even if it was a labor event, Democratic, or any other kind of event. They knew where I was at because it was advertised. Ann Wagner, honest to God, has not had one event, not one publicly advertised event where you knew, unless you were a campaign contributor and you were invited, where you could find her. Not one event in the entire election season. That goes to the primary and the general. She did not have one event in St. Louis where you said, "Oh, I'm going to go see Ann Wagner and give her a piece of my mind," or say how much I like it. Not one event. Now, what is that? And that's in an election.
Yeah, I mean, that's just really fascinating to me in all the wrong ways. And speaking of one of the local issues that really, I think, jump-started a lot of the conversation, I think made the district even more competitive, was this radioactive waste. Has that been one of those unforgivables that you've had encountered there in the district, where it was just like, it seems like, Holly's after at the time, Cori Bush was, they both joined forces. Is that really sticking with constituents, or is that out of the viewpoint and they focusing on national issues?
It actually has, CJ, and I'll tell you why. I've been surprised to the degree it has, because it's so. I think she may have underestimated how broadly people now understand an issue, are aware of an issue they hadn't really paid attention to. So many people in our community, and look, on this issue, there is no difference between the first and the second and the third district. This tragedy of thousands of our citizens having been poisoned by radioactive waste and continuing to suffer generationally from cancer, some of the rarest and most horrible illnesses, and dying. That is something that knows no district borders. And in March, when the Senate passed a bill that would have, for the first time, gotten some little measure of relief, and we're talking about $3.7 billion, would it be, in compensation to our victims and I say nobody cares whether they're in the first or second district. I mean, to people who are suffering. Ann Wagner came out against it because she said it was too expensive. Now, that didn't last long, because Josh Hawley called her shameful that night. And he's in the same party she is, and he didn't run it against her. He called her shameful, and other Republicans attacked her. And I always tell audience, if Josh Hawley calls you shameful, I don't know what to say. But that's a partisan set. But seriously, though, she has underestimated that. Now, she tried to kind of weasel out of it. She's got all these excuses. But the one thing she cannot deny, because it's an empirical fact, is what she did not do. And what she did not do on March 8th, after the bill started in the House, she did not sponsor it and lead the way and lead the fight. She did not do that, and she can't claim that she did. She's trying to come up with all. She ended up voting for it, believe it or not, 10 days after, about 2 weeks after coming out against it,
Wow.
without any explanation. She even said she was outraged that her party turned it down for the very reasons she had advocated 2 weeks earlier. Okay, but the point is that, and all that does is show you what a politician she is. So it's like, I think that I will say that issue. And what's interesting is I spent a lot of time in Franklin County, which I love, and it's the furthest part of the district from where the radioactive waste hit. It's not a part that, and people in Franklin County care just about. I mean, they really are upset about this, even because they know it's their brothers and sisters, and they may know people who are affected. So the fact that it isn't in their neighborhood directly, don't think that people in Franklin County that didn't get their attention, because it did.
Absolutely. And Ray, you have just a couple of hours left, a day and some change until we're going to start getting some results. And how are you just feeling overall? You're heading into this, and I wanted to touch on two things. Just, all this work, you've really been campaigning hard. You're out there each and every day. Would you do this all over again?
Yes. And I feel like you're an athlete, CJ. You know what this is like as a soccer star. I feel like I left it on the field. Yeah. You know what I mean? I feel like I've given it my best, and I'm not a hero. I just went out and did my best, and I absolutely would do it again. People have been so nice to me on the camp. I mean, really. I mean, obviously there are exceptions, but just like I said, I think I've spent 36 hours in talking to people in early voting lines in the past, since a week ago Saturday. And that's been the most gratifying part of this whole thing, because people have been so nice and, again, complimentary, but also just they've been very, it's just really heartening. And of course, I'm from, I'm diehard St. Louis and born. And, but we genuinely, it's been a great experience. Yeah. And so I don't have any regrets. And I also don't have any, I'm not going to make a prediction of who's going to win or not. I will make this prediction. I think it's going to be much closer than people think, and I think we have a very realistic chance of victory.
Well, and before I let you go, too, because I know that you got some work to keep on getting on to, but I want to always talk about this Problem Solvers Caucus that you really are having your eyes set on, and I think that's a good message to kind of leave on, because watching the news on any channel the last 5 days has been brutal for people. Therapy's probably going to get discounted soon just for some mental relief, but you really want to go in and do some work across the aisle, and I'd love for you to fill our audience in before tomorrow in case they're interested.
Look, if I get elected, when I get elected, I'm going to be the tied for last in seniority, and my goal is to be tied for first in bipartisanship. Okay, there's a Problem Solvers Caucus. It's 32 Democrats, 32 Republicans, and what they do is what you just described, CJ, which is to work across the aisle. They quietly get away from sound bites and try to find solutions. And if I don't care, the one thing I really feel strongly about, and you know this from working with me on radio, is issues aren't that simple. We want simplistic, one-line soundbite answers to some of the most complex subjects that we have. And sure, I'd love to tell somebody that yes to tariffs, no to tariffs, is one of those is the answer to international trade policy, but it's not. That stuff is complicated. And people don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that immigration policy is complicated, or that fixing the economy and cutting the federal debt is somehow just you push a button. In fact, no one, and I don't care, I'm a Democrat, but I am not, this is not a battle of good Democrats versus evil Republicans or vice versa. It's the answers to most of our problems can best be achieved by the parties working together with give and take and not pretending that there's soundbite. I'm going to fix XYZ. It's just not who I am. So I'm glad you mentioned it. I am all about, and I think I got it from Donnybrook. In 37 years, we argued loudly, but we always stuck to the issues, not calling each other names. But we also very often found some common ground in the middle. And that's my DNA, and that's it. So I appreciate you bringing it up.
Well, and Ray, really appreciate your time. And tomorrow, if you have some time, we'll be on the air from 7 till about 10, 11 o'clock. And just would love to hear from you, regardless of what happens, man. It's just been great to see your campaign. And thanks for keeping us updated.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And thank you to all the RiverBender viewers. I guess it's listeners, right? And viewers?
Both. Yeah, they're a hybrid.
Well, in this case, I guess you don't have to look at me, right? Unless you guys.
Got the website.
Thank you so much for your audience. And I hope the last thought I have is and this is whether you're in my district or not, please, please, please get out and vote.
Absolutely.
That's the most important you can do as an American. The second most important thing you can do as an American is vote for me, of course. But main thing, that's a distant second. But seriously, get out and vote, everybody.
Absolutely. Ray Hartmann, candidate for the 2nd District in Missouri for U.S. Congress. We'll talk tomorrow, hopefully, man, and just best of luck.
Thank you. Take care.
Quick break, more Daily Show after this.